We now present For the Record.
Just ahead, as the list of retiring state lawmakers gets longer and longer, two of Dane County's longest-serving members reflect on the last 2 decades.
Civility has escaped the building.
And how stagnant state aid could exacerbate our workforce shortage.
We need nurses, we need programmers, we need engineers.
Plus,
this is a decision that I think a lot of Wisconsinites will be disappointed in.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. I'm Naomi Coles. The governor is calling it outrageous. We start with a decision breaking late on Friday from the state Supreme Court on Wisconsin's political maps. The court first picked Governor Tony Evers' maps and the U.S. Supreme Court overruled them last month. Now, the state Supreme Court has pivoted completely and gone with the GOP-controlled legislature's maps instead. UW Law School professor Rob Yablon is back with us. Rob, a few weeks ago on this show, you outlined the options the Supreme Court had. They could have just adjusted the 7th majority black district, but they didn't. Why?
Well, what the court said is that the evidence that it had in the record wasn't sufficient to justify drawing the kinds of race-conscious districts that the governor drew and that the other litigants in the case had drawn when they proposed maps. And rather than just tweaking the districts in the Milwaukee area, I think that the state Supreme Court decided that it was somehow cleaner to toss aside those other maps entirely and adopt the legislature's map wholesale.
Is this surprising to you?
Well, it is surprising in one sense, which is the only districts that the U.S. Supreme Court called into question were those handful of districts in the Milwaukee area. And so it would have been entirely sufficient for the Wisconsin Supreme Court simply to adjust those districts and leave the rest of the map that it had previously adopted in place. But instead, so that would have been a more minimalist approach. It's a bit like if you have a flat tire in your car, you add air to the tire, you don't get a new car. They got a new car here.
Now, I understand that this decision broke probably just about an hour before we're speaking right now. That being said, have you had any chance to review Hagedorn's opinion or anything in this opinion, anything that stands out to you from the decision?
So Justice Hagedorn, who was the swing voter throughout this litigation, initially adopting the governor's map, said that he felt compelled to choose the legislature's map in this situation because there simply wasn't time to do further analysis. And on the record as it existed, there wasn't enough evidence to allow for a race-conscious map to be chosen. And so he seemed to lament that conclusion that he reached, but he did ultimately go along with the majority.
Are we expecting new legal steps, or can we expect these to be the final maps for August and November elections?
These will almost certainly be the maps for this year's election, but it is also almost certain that there will be further legal challenges by those who think that the legislature's map unfairly dilutes the African-American vote in the Milwaukee area. They will probably bring further litigation, but that litigation is unlikely to have an effect in 2022.
Does this put us fairly close to a veto-proof Republican majority in the state assembly?
I think that it does open the door to that possibility. If 2022 is a strong year for the Republicans, they could cross that veto-proof majority threshold.
Stepping back, eagle's eye view, what's the impact of this type of decision on the state of Wisconsin long term?
Well, this is a decision that I think a lot of Wisconsinites will be disappointed in because it essentially perpetuates and reinforces the gerrymandered districts, state legislative districts that we've had for the last decade. It means that we're likely to be in a state that, although we tend to split 50-50 when we're talking about statewide elections, is going to be very much a Republican-controlled legislature as long as this map remains in place.
Rob, thank you so much for interrupting your Friday evening and coming on to explain this to us.
No, good talking to you.
When we come back, a changing of the guard in the Wisconsin Assembly.